I'm Phil Liggett, and this is The Wheelhouse.
1, 2, 3, bam! Did you like that one?
I did.
This is The Wheelhouse Podcast. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Catherine Bates is here as well. Good morning / afternoon / evening. We don't know what time of day it is in the bunker.
But I need coffee. I know that. At all points.
We've ordered a coffee. I'm wondering if it's going to come in mid-show. We'll see. Anyway, massive show coming up. Spring has sprung in a European cycling context. Anyway, we'll talk all things classics. Two giants coming together much earlier than expected. We're all very excited about that. I want to have a look and a chat about some highly eye-catching headwear as well, and just cycling fashion because it really bamboozles me. And what has Kate Bates, Olympian, world champion, done to upset the nation of Belgium? We're going to find out a little bit later on, aren't we, Kate?
Yes, Joel. Look, I'll put it out there to start. I haven't had my passport denied entry or anything like that. It's not that serious.
Okay. I did make it sound like, yes, there's a whole country chasing you right now. Yeah.
Although I haven't tried, so
okay,
it could be.
We'll find out.
We'll talk about that later.
Let's go to UAE first. The winds of change blowing hard in the desert. Let's talk about the echelon.
You're very poetic today.
Well, it's fascinating watching the impact that can be had on a race, and we've seen it there. Let's go to you, because you know everything about everything when it comes to this.
Indeed.
How much have the echelon stages changed the complexion over there?
Well, I think firstly, isn't echelon just quite a beautiful word?
I'm so glad that you stopped to pause and celebrate that.
It really
is.
It's a lovely word. Essentially, echelons only happen in the wind, in the crosswind more specifically. And it's when a team or a rider wants to force a break and they put themselves in the gutter on one side of the road, and then the riders essentially fan across the road until you hit the other gutter.
Yep.
And however many riders they can fit in between is the size of the bunch. So you end up with usually 10 to 12 rider bunches completely spread out. Because once you're out of the wind there, you're on you're literally in full wind. It's the only place you can get any kind of windbreak. So when it's a really strong crosswind, it works wonders, and it is exceptionally hard to hold a wheel. Okay. And it's also a bit dangerous because that's when you can get a lot of overlapping wheels and a lot of falls. If you don't like the wind, races like UAE or Qatar and a lot of the spring classics are an absolute nightmare because if you can't nail where you sit in an echelon, it's drafting. Do you remember the movie Days of Thunder?
Of course, yes.
Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, very early, yes.
Yeah, a little bit of a saucy scene where the drafting gets, shown to her on her inner thigh, I believe. We're so early in the show.
That's okay,
And look where I'm going. It's pretty much like that. So you can either listen to our explanation or go watch Days of Thunder.
Just go watch Days.
Same premise. It's all about wind and drafting.
One of the only sports or situations in the world where putting yourself in the gutter is a positive thing.
It is. And the further over you can do it in small ways too, where you only provide enough wind assistance for your team.
Yep.
And obviously the narrower the road, the more dangerous it is again because fewer people can fit into that bunch.
Okay.
But it creates an elastic band effect where you're hanging on the back, and then it snaps and it's all over Red Rover.
Except for the guns of the bunch. So let's talk about Remco. He's come out, he's UAE. He's like, I had a pretty good day. Yeah. I'd love to. What's a very good day for Remco?
World champion.
Because
that's a very good day.
Was that a very good day? Was that I've had a mildly okay day?
Yeah. Well, no, because what happened on this particular stage is it split to a group of about 12, and then Group 1 and Group 2 came back together because when you turn out of the crosswind, different story. So they turned out of the crosswind, two groups merged, and actually his teammate Tim Merlier ended up winning the stage. So good day for Remco.
It was okay, sure.
Not a world champion winning day.
Yeah, okay.
But he's clearly in good form.
Yep.
What I find interesting, and I think this is probably a topic to dive into in next week's show when we're really in amongst the classics, though, is that Remco's a really lightweight rider for what he does in the wind. And for how much power he has. So usually we say riders like Adam Yates, they really struggle in this situation. They're climbers. usually just under 60 kilos. We're talking kind of 57 to 60 kilos is what a lot of the climbers are. And then you get the classics riders generally, and you'd look at someone like Jay Vine to be that kind of build, who would be good, or Luke Plapp, and they're more around the 68 to 70 kilo mark, 72 kilos. So, it's quite a difference in physique.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have the outliers like Van Aert, who's just a giant. But Remco is super light frame for what he's capable of, and I think that makes him super dangerous. But Luke Platt was also up there as well.
Yeah, decent day out for the young Plappy.
Yeah, but look, he can just generate enormous amounts of power.
Yep.
But I reckon from these people are going to say, oh, what can he do at the big tours because he's that young up-and-comer like, Remco was last year, like we saw with Pogacar a couple of years ago. But Plappy is 10 kilos heavier than the rest of them. That'll bite him in the climbs.
Okay.
So, we can talk about that, I reckon, next week in more detail because there's a lot to dive into and you never want to talk about weight in a fleeting manner. But fair to say that Remco well and truly punches above his weight when it comes to riding in the wind.
Is he defying the conventions of the physiology that you're sort of talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you always have outliers, right?
Yeah.
Like you have most of them fit in here and then you have the outliers. And I suppose often the outliers is where the real brilliance happens.
Okay, well, look, Lukey Plapp doing well. Another Aussie, not so much in the sense of not being there. Jay Vine, not so fine.
You've stolen my line.
So sorry, your line. You can use mine. Mine was going to be Vine has been chopped down by a dodgy knee. But I've now used that as well. So sorry, I've stolen both of those.
It has. Oh, I don't think we need to freak out. Like, he's got a dodgy knee.
Yep.
So it is.
He's okay.
Well, I guess there's two ways to look at it. It's either preventative, as they've said, and it's really not a big deal, but unless he takes a bit of rest, it's not going to get better. He's got bigger fish to fry, essentially. Or it's potentially more serious than what anybody is really giving away. And I think in that case, it'll be a big moment for Jay because every athlete hits a moment of injury. It's a mental game to get over injury more than a physical game, I think.
Yeah. He's very machine-like because he went on social media. He's like very, very up and down, matter of fact, here's what's happened. There's no emotion around it.
But I think that's a good way to approach it, right? Because there's a lot of emotion attached in injuries, in anything related to your body when you make a living out of your body. Yeah. A sore knee to you is not the same as a sore knee to somebody whose life, depends on it. Well, his livelihood, maybe not his life, but his livelihood. And so I think having a bit of a mechanical approach to it is going to serve him well. But I do hope that it is just precautionary. But been a bit of a crap tour for them, got to say. It's their home tour.
Yeah.
They came in with Yates thinking that he would be a great option, or Vine as another option. Vine, not so fine. Yates, too much of a lightweight. Oh, almost got it. He got jettisoned in the crosswinds. And, but Milano did win a sprint stage. So they clawed a little bit back there. Yeah. I think he was probably a name that people weren't really looking at, and he's probably now feeling very pleased with himself.
Absolutely.
As the saviour of the UAE Tour for Team UAE.
For the team, yeah. And look, disappointing for Jay after the home summer he had and the trajectory he was on. But look, like you say, it might just be a short.
Ups and downs.
Yeah, that's it. Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts. There's going to be a lot more shitty, disappointing moments in his career than there are super victorious ones. I think that's for any career.
Yeah, what a fabulous segue that is. Shitty, disappointing moments, because we've got one here. Now,
where are we going?
Extraordinary. Now, your mate Caleb, who still hasn't come onto the show, but that's all right. This is horse racing. This is like I haven't seen anything like this in cycling. You probably have. You've been around it for a while. Photo finish madness, absolute madness. Now we've got images. You can have a look on our social media. How do you describe this? I think you say there's not a pixel in it, or there's a pixel between the tyres? I don't even know.
Yes. I mean, officially there was a pixel, like a solo single pixel. I think Sweet FA is what I would describe. How do you divide that? Seriously, it's at what point do they just say it's a dead heat.
Yeah.
So I've seen this a couple of times. It happened at Amstel Gold. It happened for the ladies at Brabantse Paar last year. So, like, ridiculously close, where the photos got analysed and reanalysed on social media to the millionth degree.
Yeah.
It opened this big discourse around what are the rules? Are the photo cameras actually accurate? What if they're out by a mil? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm thinking, how is this continuing to happen? So I've had a bit of a deep dive, Joel. Now, if you don't mind giving me a moment, and if you're listening, not watching, I've got this giant folder. Here. These are some regulations, Joel.
So you are right now, you're looking at the UCI's practical guide for the Finnish judge.
Yes.
That's what it's actually
Isn't that
called.
an inspiring sounding
Yes.
document? Right. But
Can
there's
you-
a lot of papers here.
Okay, can you read, I believe, point 26
Yes,
verbatim?
indeed. Right. Dead heat.
Yes.
In the event of a dead heat, for the purposes of awarding a title after a road event, the two riders will be separated in accordance with the following. Dot point. If the finish takes place on a road and the two riders will race against one another over a distance of 1,000 metres from a standing start.
A 1 kilometre shootout
A 1 kilometre shootout.
when you can't pick them apart. This is a rule. This is
This
in
is
the
a rule,
book.
yeah.
This is in the literal book. You've got
Yeah.
the dusty tome there.
Yes.
We went deep into the archives. Why don't they use it?
I mean, you can, it's a huge folder I've got here.
Yeah, no, I was up reading it before the show. Yeah.
Getting caught up. Well, I'd never heard of it used. But I'll be honest, this is a very big folder. There's a lot of UCI rules. Some of them I know. This one I didn't know.
Do the officials know? Have they read it? Because they're like, oh, wait, we could have
I'm not sure. Maybe we need to circulate it. But how curious. I mean,
Very
fantastic
much so.
rule. But why aren't they using it?
Well, is this a situation where you may have, again, looking at the photo, there's, to the naked eye, very, very little there.
That
but Caleb misses
could
out.
have been, that would have been one of the best cycling moments you will ever watch.
Absolutely.
Right? Is Tim Merlier and Caleb Ewan from a standing start.
Yeah.
Frump.
I would have been equally disappointed for Tim if it went the other way. You'd be like, oh, poor guy. You know, like, look at it.
You know, the funny thing is, I actually don't even really care who won.
No.
I'm not like all defensive of Caleb or something. Although go Aussie go. But I just think I'm disappointed that the judges had the discretion to do that and chose instead to really hang on to a pixel, a single
All they had
pixel.
to do was consult point 26 in the practical guide for the Finnish judge. Such
Exactly.
a catchy title. It's
It's
easy
a
to find it on
practical
the
guide,
shelf. Yeah.
Joel.
I also think, and the next question here is, when's a dead heat a dead heat? And why can't we just have, I don't know, maybe this is me with the whole every child wins a prize sort of mentality, but when's a dead heat a dead heat? Like that you don't get much closer. The old saying, it's a bee's dick, Kate. I've said it. There you go. It's not even that.
It's very Australian saying.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's one of
Welcome to our foreign listeners.
Aussie vernacular. Bees dick basically means there's not much in it.
No.
Millimetres.
I think it's self-explanatory, Joel.
No, look, I'll draw you a diagram just so we can. So I've got the whiteboard.
But I
up here.
think the point is, if there's this awesome thing in place that they can have a shoot-off, why aren't they using it?
The bees dick shoot off. Oh my goodness, we've
don't
just thought of a name. Why don't we send that to the UCI? Maybe they'll use it if it has a catchy name like that.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. If the UCI are listeners,
Yeah. Firstly,
we apologise.
I know that you're listening. Yeah.
Secondly, what do you think of Joel's idea?
Soz. Really interesting though, and I love the idea of a 1K shootout.
Me
I
too.
think that is fantastic.
And if it happens at Paris-Roubaix, they do it around the velodrome.
Oh, go away.
I know.
2 riders,
Come
1
on.
kilometre, 1 champion.
Girl can dream.
Okay. Interesting. Unfortunate, Caleb. He's had a run. Has he? He's a bit of a trot, Caleb.
He has.
But,
He has. I think that if he can just stay motivated through this, he'll
emerge. Like this, the phoenix rising.
Yes,
from the,
yes.
New nickname for him.
Yes,
Phoenix.
I was thinking butterfly out of cocoon.
Yes, for those
But-
watching on the video stream at the moment, we have the
thank you.
wonderful Gareth, one of the crew of River City Studios. The wonderful producer of this podcast has just delivered our coffee.
He has.
He's an
Thank you.
absolute legend.
Thank you,
And
right.
I'm so glad that happened mid-record.
Well, we're good to go
I really
now.
needed this coffee. Let's move on.
Yes.
So I love getting excited about big matchups. Now, there's one coming a lot sooner than we definitely would have expected. We'll call it the Clash of the Titans. The big guns coming together for the first time since last year's tour. Now, it's interesting because one of them is Pog, so we'll always get excited when he's doing anything. The other one is your long-lost cousin, Jonas.
Oh,
Vingegaard.
Jonas.
Where has he been? Was he at the family Christmas?
Oof, he wasn't. He was a no-show. Seriously.
He's been a no-show for a while. And look, a lot of that, he had good reason to have a bit of a
He did. He had a
spell.
bit of a mental health break, which I absolutely commend him for. It's a tough sport, and there's a lot to it. And if you need a bit of brain time, take a bit of brain time.
Take the space.
Do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to see them side by side.
It's epic, isn't it?
It is.
Pog has pulled a real Swiftie with his prep calendar, hasn't he? Because he hasn't been here. He's
No,
I'm doing it.
This is the big point, Joel. And I'm very proud of you because you've come into cycling a little bit later, but you already see the massive significance of this. And it's not only that we're seeing Jonas Vingegaard for the first time this year racing. Not only will we see them go head-to-head at Paris-Nice, which is 10 days, 1,200K, including a team's time trial. It's a big race.
The race to the sun.
And it has been won in the year that they've gone on to win the Tour de France by Bradley Wiggins, Geraint Thomas, Bernal.
Yep.
Richie Porte has won a couple of times and then podiumed at the Tour de France. So this is
So it's the Golden Globes.
a pretty... Yeah, it is, exactly.
sure.
It's or the Arias,
The
if
BAFTAs.
you will.
Sure.
The Arias before the Grammys.
Grammys,
I don't know.
yeah, cool.
But it's of significance. Now, last year, they both did Strade Bianchi and then Tirreno Adriatico, and that was their lead-in. They've both completely flipped that preparation on its head, skipping Strade Bianchi, heading to Paris-Nice.
Yep.
It's curious.
It's most curious.
Like for
yes.
Pogacar to completely... it's almost as though he was so confident going into the Tour last year, but then when he lost, he's gone, well, if you keep doing the same thing and it doesn't work, that's kind of the definition of stupid. So let's not.
Let's mix it
Let's
up.
mix it up. And
Yep.
he's mixed it up. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. And there'll be a lot of eyes on Vingegaard.
Yeah.
Where has he been? What has he been up to? Is he coming in with form? How's he
Yep.
feeling mentally? I actually feel like he's going to get a lot of pressure from the media with a lot of questions. But, hopefully the team protects him a bit from that.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Because that long spell off. But obviously, he's going to come back with eyeballs on him. And I'm wondering about Pog as well, because we've had a lot of chat. We were chatting about on last episode, every other rider just basically being like, Pog's here. Pog's doing his thing. Is there an element of flexing happening here from Pog, making these appearances? Like
I
a bit
don't
of, here I am.
I don't think so.
No?
I think he kind of paddles his own canoe.
Yeah.
I think he just wants to, so to speak, I think he wants to just try something a little bit different.
Uh-huh.
The one thing that he hasn't tried differently is the little tuft out the top of his helmet. If you are watching, you can see it out the top of his helmet on our screens. Otherwise, you can look at our social media for any of the photos we put up of Pog. It's in every photo. The tuft out the top of the helmet.
You know what applies? If it ain't broke.
Well, I don't
And that's a
know.
great looking-
Aerodynamically, I could certainly argue that.
You reckon it's taken a bit off him?
Well,
Maybe that's good for everyone else.
I don't know.
The tuft
But
that
maybe he
gives
should
the
get
others
some-
hope.
Maybe he should get some gel.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe we should send him some. That might woo him onto the... Hey, Merksy, can we borrow a bit of your hair gel to send to Pog to try and lure him onto the podcast? Is that all right?
That's okay. I've got some for him.
I've got some for him.
It's almost like, there you go.
Yeah.
So I love that. Merksy just has everything covered.
He does.
Look, good to see you, cousin Jonas. It's been a while. We're
It
looking
is.
forward to seeing what you have to do, Jonas Vingegaard. It'll be great. Another welcome back. So another one. Now, this is, you say, I'm sort of newish to the sport. This is an athlete I wasn't overly familiar with. I saw a little bit of her. I'm talking about the flying Finn.
I love it.
Because
That'll stick.
the flying Finn fails in Valencia. That's the line I wanted to use. What do you reckon?
I like it. I like the flying Finn.
She's back.
Yes. She was Lotte Lapisto. I always thought that was the best name in the sport.
Good name. Up there with Buck Peters as
It
one of the
is,
great
isn't
names.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. She was like the up-and-coming star in cycling. Literally burst onto the scene with this incredible turn of speed and staying power. Medalled at the World Championships. She was on the podium at La Course. She won Gent-Wevelgem. really, really super talented. And then, poof, disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, just disappeared off the face of the earth. And nobody really knew why. Her team just said she just didn't want to re-sign, even though the offer was there. 3 years later, she's emerged. She's a new mother. So she took the 3 years to also have a baby. I don't believe that's why she left the sport. She said that she just felt burnt out. Like, her rise was so meteoric and it happened all so quickly. She didn't really plan on it and needed some time out. She said even a year ago, she wasn't planning a comeback.
Well, she didn't have a contract. She didn't chase one either.
No.
She did a bit of amateur racing, but she's like, I'm good. I'm gonna.
Yeah, but they lured her back in, and she's come second in 2 stages at Sentimentana Valenciana behind Alyssa Balsamo, who was our world champion a couple of years ago. Insane. Like, to do that in your first race back
it's
after a
pretty
big
spesh.
hiatus,
Yeah.
pretty special.
I
I
was
mean, I'd
going
love
to-
to see a Strava or a Zwift power files or something, because she's clearly
okay.
been training the house down.
Yeah, she hasn't stopped. She's just hasn't
But
been in the
nobody's
spotlight.
talked about her at all. It's like
Okay.
nobody even realised she was back. It's
Well,
really well done.
She's come back very, very strong. I
Yes.
wanted to ask the question because obviously we see that she's still right up there, but have other rivals, like having that amount of time away from the sport, how big of a gap, like between some of the other, I guess, dominant forces in the women's tour? Like, is I don't know, is this a flash in the pan, or is it like, here we go, here's another name
It's
for
a
the
good
year?
question. I don't think it's a flash in the pan at all. Like, I
Yeah.
think she's super talented, and she didn't have the love for it. It was a bit overwhelming, so she went away, thought about, is this something I really want to do?
Okay.
Boom, you're back. But I do have a bit of a theory. This is not backed by science.
Okay.
Disclaimer. Entirely backed by observation and anecdote. Is that the people at the really pointy end of the sport, and I'm talking about people
Like
who...
Merckxy and
Merckxy, who win races, come close to winning races, are contenders, are up there in the top, say, 20% of the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're untrained, they're still going to be World Tour standard.
Yeah.
But they maybe won't be in the top 20%. But when they have any training, they just have the physiology. It's like a standard deviation above the rest of the World Tour, that top 20%.
Yeah.
So really, they've just got it naturally. And when they train, they get more finesse and they get better. And, so long as they're at race weight and they're doing, putting in the Ks, it comes together.
The X factor.
Yeah, it is a bit. Like, I mean, it's a little bit unfair, actually. And I think, I had a little bit of that myself. And I learnt my work ethic from my sister, who didn't necessarily have the same natural ability, but worked super bloody hard to get where she did.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're looking at riders like Hentala, she's just got that physiology. And as long as she's trained, she'll be there and thereabouts.
She's going to be thereabouts. She's going to be top 10 for the year?
Yeah, it's a loose theory.
Okay. I think that's a
But
new
there it
slogan
is.
for the Wheelhouse there, not based on science. The Wheelhouse podcast, not based on science. No, I really like that. It's like me at the buffet. Everyone's just like, gee, it's not fair. He hasn't even practiced. And look at him. 3 plates ahead of all
Sizzler.
of us. Yeah. Oh, don't bring up Sizzler. For those who don't know, Sizzler's the buffet that no longer exists
All
here
you can
in
eat
Australia.
potato skins. Google those. Oof, they were good.
Yeah, you got to write them off though. I went twice this week without any potato skins on the old MTB, and tell you what, just quick segue. The watermelon, Wheelhouse watermelon, does a great job
The
in the
kit is
bush, on the
beautiful.
road. Doesn't matter where you are. Jeez, it
I
pops.
will after the show post some photos of you, Joel, in said watermelon kit.
Enjoy it, yeah. Please.
And again, while Harry Styles is taking over Australia, you might get some teenage girls chasing you. They'll get a bit of a watermelon sugar high when you ride on
Oh, there
past.
it is. You and your styles and references. Look, I wanted to talk about fashion and, of course, talk about our wonderful merchandise, but there's a reason I wanted to talk about fashion because I've heard of wild fashion. Let's talk about the new time trial. Let's talk about the UnoX time trial helmet. I know that Merckxy, our super producer, does a lot of the work around all of the work when it comes to the graphics and this putting the show together. I came in last night, I borrowed his keys, I used his logins, and I did a bit of an impression of what I think this helmet reminds me of. If that's okay, I'm going to show it to you right now. So the UnoX time trial helmet, for me, really evokes the thought of this.
Trump.
What do you think? So for those listening on, the time trial helmet very much reminds me of the helmet worn by Darth Vader or a stormtrooper in Star Wars.
And if you're watching, you'll notice that Joel has said helmet on the table. Yes. Yes, it's a Darth Vader helmet. And we're, of course, talking about the Uno X helmet.
Yes.
That they rolled out in Algarve in the time trial. Oh, look, it had people talking, I'll say that.
What was your reaction?
Farshan. Look, I am a self-confessed Luddite when it comes to technology. But I actually sit a little bit on the fence with the legs dangling on either side because I love tradition. You know, down to bike design and everything. I just love the beauty of traditional bikes. However, I also really love technology, and it's a real collision when this happens. But I will say that the thought behind it, the technology, is really cool. And it kind of evolved from Dan Bigham. You'll recall we talked about him last year. He's the aerodynamicist working for Ineos. He was a one-time holder of the world hour record. But from an aerodynamics point of view, he's just a genius. Great book. He's got a great book too.
Helmet.
It's the POC helmet. He helped developed. He kind of showed off and because it's almost like goes without question. If Dan Bigham signs off on it,
it's done.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
Right. So
I wonder how many times he's watched Days of Thunder.
Quite a lot, I'd reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how many explanations he's given. I hope he's careful about how he does it, maybe with a pen and paper.
Reference the thighs.
Not Nicole style. Anyway, they've taken a similar design to create this helmet. And what it does, it's not just traditional teardrop, which covers your ears and keeps everything in and then goes back in. I mean, teardrop, self-explanatory, right? In a point at the back. The whole point of that is that the point has to sit on your back. So you have to remain as stable as possible because if you do look down and the point goes up in the air, that creates a barrier, right? Yep. So it's not just the helmet, it's also positional. But this helmet flares out over the shoulders and so thus kind of creates a beautiful aerodynamic line for the wind to travel over your face. I'm using my hands a lot if you're watching. It's almost like I've got jazz
gesticulating
hands.
wildly. It deserves
flows
it.
Over the face, over the shoulders, back out. No disruption, no slowdown. That's the theory behind it.
Okay.
It looks funny.
It looks funny.
Well,
it's very Star Wars. We see crazy new helmets. There is science involved. There is a point.
There's a lot of science involved in this.
Yeah. We've seen head socks. We've seen quite a cavalcade at the Tour last year.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, I think they need to be careful how crazy they go because the idea is to get it into the consumer market.
Yeah.
But I'd
buy one.
I have to point out, and
paint it black.
I know you would, and wait till you hear the name of the brand because I think this will be even more enticing. The brand, Joel, drum roll, is called Sweet Protection.
Oh.
I'm not even kidding.
Do they sell them at the pharmacy or?
Sweet
Okay. I like it. No,
yes.
look, very cool. Obviously it serves a purpose. It's high fashion. It's not the biggest race of the year, but good way to sort of get it out and about.
Looks pretty sweet.
Yeah. It's very Star Wars. There's this moment. I'm going to nerd it up really quickly. There's a scream. It's called the Wilhelm scream, and it's in Star Wars. It's in 100,000 movies. I want to add it now every time a rider comes down. Wearing that helmet, I think it'll just be very fitting to have the sound.
Is that what it is?
That's pretty much what it sounds like. We might see if we can workshop that, but that's all right. Now, Kate, you've been busy. You're always busy. I don't know. How do I bring this up? Well done, esports worlds. Well done. Good stuff from you and the Aussies. Didn't quite get the result, but how'd you go?
Jeez, you're a hard taskmaster.
No, I'm just sorry.
Look, I think it was a bit underwhelming.
Okay.
But I will say our athletes did a tremendous job. And each of them I'm incredibly proud of for their own contribution. Freddie Ovett was our best performer. He finished 6th in the men's. He could have won it. He just didn't have the legs. He admitted that, and he did what he could with what he had.
Yep.
I don't think it's a case of he's going to reflect and completely change his preparation. I think it's sometimes you do everything right and you wake up and you've got legs that feel like coffee have been poured into them.
Just have a day.
And other days, the preparation's crap and you wake up and somehow can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did everything right. But yes, look, I think if their performances go on my CV, last year was better.
Okay. Well, it's a rapidly growing, and we're seeing lots of good results along the way.
It is. And again, each of them are superstars. And I am going to get one of the athletes in here with us, Joel, Imogen Alton.
Excellent.
She's an incredible superstar, and I'm very proud of her.
Yep.
She didn't progress through the first race,
Yep.
but for her to even be on the start line is incredible. She's got a great story. So we'll get her in, and I think it's important to talk about the good part, Joel.
Yeah.
Talk about the good part.
Absolutely. Look, the new. What did you think of the track? Because we were talking about the Scottish, the replication. Did it work for you? Because you were a little bit.
No.
Before you said one leg either side of the fence, I think on that you had both legs very much, and I'm not so sure. Side of things.
No, they're both they remain on that. I didn't love the format, but
no goods.
Nah.
What about the 2 a.m. wake up? Was that fun?
Well, look, the problem was, Joel, is that the children also got up at that time because they were excited. And then there was a birthday party for an 8-year-old that day, one of our children. And so, look, by mid-afternoon, fair to say, everybody needed a nap.
Kate the Bear.
I know, the
Was it Kate the
UCI.
Bear?
Can they do better, please?
Is there something in that book? Can we change the time?
Well, there's a lot of pages.
Time scheduling for race information officials around the electronic cycling sports side of the academy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. We'll think of a better title. That's
Catchy
right.
name.
Look, back-to-back champions in the women's, of course. Look, tough gig, but it grows and grows. Anyway, Kate, you are busy. I want to get to this on the Wheelhouse podcast. Thank you for joining us, liking, sharing, and telling all your friends. So, what is it, Kate? What's the matter? What happened with you in Belgium?
All right.
Are we going to talk about Belgium?
All right. I love Belgium. I love it as a people. I don't speak French, but my Flemish isn't too bad. I love it as a cycling nation. We all know my affinity for Wout.
Yes.
You can't say I'm anti-Belgian. I'm anti-Patrick
You did tip against
Lefevre.
him, but that's right.
I am anti-Patrick.
Okay. All right. Now
And
it's
I've
making sense.
Somewhat peeved. I had to be careful what word I use there. Peeved his supporters off because good old Patrick, ever the reliable, he's been back at it.
Isn't he?
So let me just tell you. So what he's done is he's, been in an interview in a forum kind of thing. They've asked him about women's cycling. He's kind of teed off and said that he believes in the future of women's cycling.
All right.
Right. Oh my
Not the
gosh, he
present,
said
though.
something nice. Ooh. But then he, of course, was good old Patrick, and he came back and he said it's being artificially inflated. There's a minimum wage. The riders aren't even worth that. Blah, 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 right? And I also have to say it was in Flemish. So I did a bit of translating because I lived over there for a while to get a base understanding of what it said.
Okay.
I then got some help with some translation. So I understand clearly what was said. I have to back that up because there were some people who weren't too happy with what I said. And what I said is good old Patrick, ever the reliable. What I take from this is that he believes in the future of women's cycling so long as he doesn't have to contribute to it. I'm sure he'll jump on board when it serves him to. Walk on, Paddy.
Walk on.
Walk on.
Oh, good one.
Because I just thought, come on, dude, just stop.
Yeah. Jog on, Pat.
Yeah. You believe in us, but I just don't know that he deserves that much of an opinion. Also, bearing in mind, it's not his money, right? He's very good at getting sponsors, but it's not his money. So I don't know that he gets to make these comments. Anyway, people got a bit cranky. Look, a lot of people were on board with me, but there were a few people in Belgium. One, his handle is called Belge Sports Fan.
Uh-oh.
And he says, He's already on board for multiple years and he's committed to it in the coming years as well. Like I'm an idiot.
Okay.
And the next one, and this fella's called Soul Ripper.
Oh, wow. You got hit by the Soul Ripper. All right.
And he says, if you actually watched women's cycling, you would know that he's already on board.
Well, one thing we can definitely accuse you of, Kate Bates, is not ever watching women's cycling.
Right.
That's for
well,
sure.
Here's the next one. And this is I'm prepping Merksy for the beat button here. Whelps, this proves you didn't read the fucking interview.
Oh!
So
Is it in capitals?
Yes.
Have you been flamed?
It wasn't in capitals.
You've been flamed in Flemish.
But look, they're not the only ones. They're just the ones I thought I would sanitary enough to
How many
read
were
out.
just quietly? They were just the ones you picked out.
They
of
were just the ones I picked out.
Group of.
It's interesting because I think that it is a reflection to me about the fact that I would say I'm someone who's quite learned in the space of cycling.
You know a thing or two, yeah.
Not just women's cycling. Like, imagine what they would say to me if I had a comment about men's cycling. Heaven forbid.
Imagine the Soul Ripper then.
Yeah,
wow.
but they were all from Belgium, that they really support him and, like I thought,
Is he a
I found it
national
interesting.
treasure over there? I think he's that divisive. Like, is he? This is.
I don't know.
Sure, some
there was
people are
I got a
okay,
lot
but-
of messages in agreement too.
Yeah.
None from Belgium though. A lot of
Wow.
Australians
That's
thought
curious.
I was on board, but the Belgians.
So they're just
only
sort
went
of
one way.
closing ranks around their own, basically, regardless of him
They
literally
are.
saying
Yeah.
athletes aren't worth what they're getting
Yeah.
paid, and it's being pushed. It's a piss take.
Yeah.
Why are you
I
bothering?
mean, I'll say it
Wow.
again. I think Patrick Lefevre is a massive douche canoe.
Yeah,
I don't apologise for having that opinion.
yeah. That's one guy that
I'm happy to say
we're
it.
not even pursuing to
No.
come onto the Wheelhouse podcast.
And happy to take any tweets in reply too.
Oh, how good.
Yes.
Shots fired.
Yes.
The Bates backlash
Yes.
unfolding on Twitter. But you know what? Look,
Whelps.
call him out.
We'll call him out, yeah.
I don't think you're going to stop doing that because you have the absolute right to do that.
No, and
So
because it's I find the tweets quite funny.
you enjoy the spice. You enjoy the spice.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd love to... You have to chat to Merksy, but imagine if you started throwing this shade from the Wheelhouse social media. Then we'd all be in it.
Well, I mean, remembering too, Merksy and his Belgian link. I mean, he might throw a flavoursome little reply in there as well.
Oh, dear. What are we getting ourselves into? On the
Merksy,
Wheelhouse.
do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, go on.
Leave me out of it.
He doesn't want to borrow it. Okay.
All right.
It's the Wheelhouse podcast. It's live. It's loud. It's not based on science. Spring has sprung. The classics. We've been excited about this, and everyone's talking about it. We want to talk about it as well. Now, I wonder if your Belgian issues have prevented you from being at the omelette. But anyway, that's another.
I didn't even bother applying for a visa. I just couldn't stand the rejection.
Big year at the omelette.
Yes.
It's been obviously around for a while with the men. Big year for the women. First time. That's
Yes.
exciting. But look, you don't know enough about women's cycling to talk about it, of course.
No, so
but-
let's talk about the men.
Yeah, sure. What are you
Yes.
thinking?
Well, it's the first World Tour race of the year for the fellas on European soil.
Yes.
That's big.
Yep.
And I think you get to this point in the season almost forgetting that because we've had a glut of racing, which has been fantastic. And a lot of these tours like Algarve and what have you, but they're not World Tour.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a big one. Opening Classic. It's been World Tour since 2016 for the men, but it's been around, I think this is the 79th edition of Het Nieuwsblad. Now, Het Nieuwsblad is the newspaper.
Yep.
So the news story. So essentially they race around. Omloop is lap. Around. They're very creative, like Tour de France,
I like it.
Vuelta.
Yep.
They race around where Het Nieuwsblad is based. It has always been a sensational race. And you often get some names that are really targeting the early classics because it's quite a long stretch of classics, right? That it's the time where you see new talent. People emerge as classic riders, and I'm excited about that because I think that the people who we're looking at to win from the men's side are probably not your regulars. I mean, Van Aert
It's not there.
is not there.
Yeah. Colbrelli, of course,
Where
the
is
one too
Wout?
last year.
Exactly.
Both out.
Colbrelli,
Yeah.
he's out of the sport now, sadly.
very
Still
sadly.
such a bummer.
Yeah.
But I reckon that there's a little bit of talent bubbling that could come up.
Who do you like,
Well,
Bates?
Arnaud Delis is the
yes.
big one. He's only 20, but he's really good at punchy climbs. He won a ton of races last year, but not even not one step below World Tour, 2 steps below. But because of the way he won them and what he's shown in training and in preparation, they've thrown him in because they think he's a genuine hope.
That's the Neo Pro. The Neo Pro.
Yeah, for Lotto Destiny.
Okay. Nine wins, I believe. A decent take.
But again, not at World Tour to a level, but it certainly indicates he's got the goods.
Yeah.
But I reckon Tom Pidcock, he could be there.
That name again. Okay.
So there did, unless you've had your head in the sand all week, you would have seen on our social media that he escaped disaster in Algarve in the time trial, took a corner pretty hot, literally rode up the side of a little rock wall, back on, no worries.
That was incredible.
Won the race. So
what a demonstration of skills coming together, though.
incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
But that, you look at that kind of ride and you think he's got the skills, and when it comes to the cobbled classics, I mean, he just isn't as anxious, so mentally it's better. Physiologically, it's not as stressful because he's used to even the impact and the different within the bunch. Geez, that was good wording from me.
That's all right.
But
I get you.
he's got skills to pay the bills, Joel.
Yep.
I'm putting a big circle around him. And they've got KBK the day after, so Kern, Brussels, Kern. So it's a big weekend.
Okay, so you're going to shout out for
Big
Pidcock.
Yeah. Yep.
The mastery of parkours and the cobbles, as you say, punchy climbs, he's got it all.
He's my man.
He's the guy.
Yep.
He's the guy. You're saying it now.
Tom,
Wheelhouse
he's my
tipping
man.
competition.
If he can't do it,
I'm going to go with that.
no one can.
I'm going to go.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
going to go. Look, he missed the cyclocross worlds. Obviously, as is that a good thing leading into this?
I
how
think
do you
so.
think he'd be looking at that?
Kept him fresh.
A bit fresh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, because we've also, let's not forget that this is going to be the first race for a whole heap of them. Like Wright said, Fred Wright, he's back.
He's back.
Yep. For Bahrain Victorious.
But no Van der Poel, no Wout, as you
No,
say.
but, I think that over the last years, we've almost come very dependent on Wout and Van der Poel.
The rule of two.
Well, to suggest whether a race is exciting or not.
Sure.
But we had that incredible showdown at Crossworlds, and now we're going to have some incredible showdowns with others.
Yep.
And then there will be a couple of points, not too many, but a couple of points where they'll all come together. And that's why races like the Tour de France are so massive, because they're the pinnacle. At the moment, people... we're seeing Pog pull out of Strade Bianche to do Paris-Nice. It's never all of them together. And that's strategic.
Yeah. I'll throw another one at you. In the absence of Wout, Christophe Laporte taking a big step up for Jumbo.
He is.
So that's another smoky.
Yes.
Not even a smoky. What's the next step up for a steamy? He's a steamy. Yeah.
Like McSteamy. Are you
He's
a
a
Grey's Anatomy
simmering.
fan? No.
No.
Okay.
You talking
all
about
right.
McDreamy?
And McSteamy. There's McDreamy
okay.
and McSteamy.
I didn't realise.
So on the McDreamy, Jasper Philipsen, he could be another one.
Is he much chopped? Jasper
Well, I mean, he
Philipsen,
was
there you
last
go.
season, but he hasn't raced yet this year.
Okay.
So does he have legs? Or
We don't know because we haven't seen him yet,
I mean,
as you say.
look, he has legs.
Literally legs.
It's just, has he got fit
if you put him
legs?
through a leg scanner, it would be like, yes, confirming
Yes,
he has
confirmed.
legs.
Yep.
Does the legs have the capacity to carry him to glory?
Well, we will see.
We shall see.
We
Okay.
shall see.
That's exciting, Kate Bates. Let's talk about the women now. I've got one name that I always love to throw out
The
there.
ladies.
AVV. It's the old Pog has everyone nervous. Has AVV got everyone a bit nervous for the women's debut?
See.
More nervous?
More nervous.
Yeah.
Yes, but I was thinking about this. So it's her last year in the Peloton.
Yeah.
No question. Physically, physiologically, that's like our bingo word today. She's better than everyone. I think she's proven that time and time again. And I think anybody who gets a little bit offended by that, tough titties. It just is what it is. Doesn't make you a bad person. If you can't keep up with her upper heel, it just is what it is. But what she does lack, and we have seen this many times, is confidence in the bunch and skills. However, she's overcome this for the most part because she's just been able to ride away from them. But as the bunch gets more depth, as we get deeper into World Tour status and we've had more years of development and we have a lot more riders that are closer in both experience and in talent, she's not going to be able to do that to the same degree. So for longer in the race, there will be a bigger bunch that she has to deal with that will cause some nervousness, that will create a little bit of a risk. So I'm not saying that she won't still do the AVV thing and just smoke everybody. But I think that it is coming closer for the skills, the talent, the depth kind of factors that each year compound a little bit.
Okay. It's interesting. That's interesting.
It's something to think about because I think the other thing is if you look at the contenders and who we've seen so far this year, all eyes are really on the sprinters. On Balsamo, she's in incredible form. Vibez and Cool have had their little showdown for a little bit of an extra dynamic. Vibez and Kopecky are both on SD Works this year.
Kopecky's season debut, I believe, as well.
It is, and a lot of Kopecky would normally go
Demi
in
Vollering
as their
as well?
big favourite, but, you know, they've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen. But nobody is going to want the sprinters to get to the line because they're so strong this year. And so that changes it too because it's not just AVV and Movistar who are trying to break things up. I think there'll be a lot of teams trying to. And look, historically, 12 of the editions have finished in a very small bunch or a solo. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
AVV, Vollering, I believe, had a stoush last year.
Yes.
This field, I guess, for the significance of the event, it's a stacked field as well. Tough to pick a winner. I don't think you or I can do it. I'm going to ask Merksy. Merksy, who's your tip for the women's race, mate? Okay, I don't think he wants to give us one. That's all right. And look, I get it. I wouldn't want to either.
I would definitely say that I think that Balsamo can get it over the line. That's my pick.
You know what? Quick aside, Balsamo and Jonas, if they became friends, like special friends. Whatever,
special friends.
Balsamo Vingegaard. That would be really cool.
Apologies to Vingegaard's lovely wife.
Yeah, I said friends. I said friends. You could just put them together. Balsamo, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now, someone who's not going to be there is your man, Wout.
I see where you're going, balsamic vinegar. Yes. It took me a while. I apologise.
No, but I love that you called me out before getting the joke. That's all right. Your mate Wout, not going to be there.
No.
Now, he's also missing... Where's Wout?
Where's Wout?
Where's Wout?
There's Wout and his stripes.
He took a 2-day break from Strava and it's absolute panic stations for the world. The world is going, where is Wout?
Where is Wout?
It's
a thing. He's very much of the belief, and I can say this without having actually asked him about it, but if I...
when he comes on.
I can. Yeah. If they ever let me into Belgium again, I will. Is that he's like, if it's not on Strava, did it even happen?
Did it happen?
You know? And I know that there's a lot of athletes who get so anxious about missing data, you know, that it freaks them out to not have a complete data set. And I feel like that's where Wout sits with it, right? So he uploads everything onto Strava and he didn't for a couple of days. And
panic stations.
In Belgium, panic stations. Yep. So on Belgian social media, people were freaking out. Where is he? What's wrong?
Yep.
To the point where they formally contacted the team and said, what's wrong?
Where Wout at?
Where Wout?
Yeah.
And they had to admit that he wasn't very well. And
we're worried about
drowning.
Wout.
Yeah,
okay.
We're worried about Wout.
Yep.
And he was at altitude and he was on Struggle Street and he'd had a couple of days off.
He said that too. I wasn't quite ready.
Yeah, but
Chill out.
They picked it.
Yeah.
But last year, rewind to before Paris-Roubaix, and he had COVID, and the team manager, Richard Plug, said, we're banning you from Strava in the lead-in.
Wow.
Because they didn't want speculation about his form. They didn't want everybody picking it apart.
Yeah, okay.
But it has me thinking, like, I think a lot of the riders are comfortable to put it up because whatever, good luck other teams.
Especially when you can use it to draw like a horse. Or,
exactly. Like who wouldn't?
A rocket ship.
But I think that if anything, it's actually probably the media that's the problem because people then write about it, analyse it, and that can put a bit of pressure on them.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, they don't live in a bubble. Like unless they stay off social media altogether and they don't do interviews or whatever, it will catch up with them.
Of course it will.
And so I guess the teams are trying to protect them from that. But
it's a click-happy generation. Of course
yeah,
they're
but
looking
I
at
don't.
it.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal that his data goes up. But it is quite funny that you immediately know. Like he gets a welfare check after 2 days.
I will
Such an
Strava itself
anomaly.
is going like, why are you not letting Wout
I know.
use
I mean,
us? 'Cause
is
we're,
it at
you
the
know,
point where if he has a recovery day or, going to a friend's wedding and doesn't ride or something, that he has to publicly announce it?
Here's
Hey,
what,
I'm okay.
Yeah.
He
should just share his
Day
calendar
off.
with Twitter. Just like, your Outlook, you just share your calendar with Twitter
Yeah.
so everyone knows.
Yeah.
So everyone's just going, Wout, where are you?
Exactly.
Hello, it's been 14 hours.
I know. Yeah, quite
Okay.
funny though.
We'll see him soon, I'm sure. Now, Kate, I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind, why everyone is so excited about, not everyone, but everyone in France seems to be so excited about a fizzy frenzy at the Tour de France. They've announced a new sponsor. Christophe Mallet from SBS, I think, has said it's France's Vegemite. Whatever. Thanks. That's
Whatever.
okay. Who cares? I'm sorry, but Orangina, why is this so...
Everybody cares, and I
okay.
do not know why.
All right, good. I'm glad. I thought you were about to say you
Yes.
care. I was like, oh,
I
okay.
don't get it. Yes,
Yep.
Orangina. And look, we actually printed out the French pronunciation, which clarifies nothing, I must say. But it's described as a lightly carbonated beverage made from carbonated water, 12% citrus juice, 10% from concentrated orange, 2% from a combination of concentrated lemon and mandarin.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of citrus in there.
I think pretty much it's
Was
what
that your
happens.
French accent?
Like,
Yeah, can you do that
it's
again with
in
a
my
French
French
twang?
No,
Yeah.
I cannot. But how do you think we say it with a French accent? Orangina. Orangina.
I love that you're asking me that.
I don't know.
Orangina.
Orangina. But I reckon it's like the Aussie hack where you get a glass of orange juice and you put some sparkling water in it.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. You've
Yeah.
got Orangina.
It's lolly water. Is
It's
that what you're
lolly
saying?
water,
I love
yes.
some of the headlines. So I said fizzy frenzy. Another one is refreshing the tour. Sweet deal. Conquering the taste buds of cycling fans.
Well, so I think that's the point. People have gone bananas and I don't get it. It's like if Vegemite sponsored the AFL or, the NRL, any of our football codes, I don't think that anybody would really care.
No.
Like they'd be like, cool, I
No,
get,
yeah.
sample Nutella, sample Vegemite.
Yeah.
But not like this. I really don't get it.
It's like, no, I don't care, but I randomly find myself buying 6 tubs of Vegemite at the supermarket
Yeah.
without even thinking about it.
Yes,
and for Orangina, they're
sure.
just going, whoo-hoo.
I know. But look, their motto, like tagline is shake it.
Just shake it.
Shake it.
I thought, okay.
No,
I thought
that's
you were
it.
like, shake it and something.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Shake it.
It's not like a James Bond, shake it and stir it.
No, just
okay.
shake it. And
Wow.
but I do think so. I don't know if you know this, Joel, but in cycling, Coke, like Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
is
I'm
called.
glad you qualified that.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
okay.
is called the Black Doctor
Yes, okay.
because when you're really nearly out of energy, that beautiful black syrup of Coca-Cola
Texas tea.
will be like the
Yeah.
doctor. It will help you. Do we think, given the very high sugar content of Orangina,
Yeah.
maybe it's the orange doctor? Do you think that's
Oh, the orange
where they're
doc.
trying to take it? So that we've seen all these images in past broadcasts, Joel, of Jay Vine necking Fanta.
I was about to
Right?
say, yes,
But-
good luck getting the likes of Jay and Pog.
I
Also
know.
loves a
I mean,
Fanty.
that's the thing. Are we
Good
going
luck.
to see these iconic images
Yep.
of the riders necking an Orangina?
Or are we going to see an issue where the riders are going,
Yeah, an
I'm
issue
drinking Fanta.
where they're on the Fanta,
Yeah.
which is very clear competitor.
Pog loves his Fanta. Actually punches a can of Fanta
Can
at
we
the end of the
get-
stage.
Pog onto the Orangina.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It's a big deal.
It
It's
is.
a big deal. We're almost
Yes.
out of time on the Wheelhouse podcast. There's a lot happening. What else is coming up? Or it's actually underway at the moment now. The Track Nations Cup is underway, but you had to go on a bit of a swim, a bit of a deep dive
I
to
did.
actually find some results before the TV coverage gets underway.
I did. They don't televise the first day.
Possibly
of
a good thing for
the
Aussie
World
fans.
Cup. Yeah, well, and so I couldn't easily find the results. It will be broadcast on SBS all the other days, so that'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy,
Yep.
or orange squeezy, as it may be. But day one was the teams pursuits, the men and the women, and New Zealand, Joel, absolutely romped it in.
That was a fantastic display.
Yeah, fantastic display. Hey, bro. The Australians, that was bad.
Aussies,
They were third.
Shut.
They were shut. No, they weren't
They weren't
shut.
shot, sorry.
They were third in the fellas
Okay.
and fourth in the woman.
Okay.
Yeah, so look, the Aussies were a little bit off pace, but I'm just really impressed with the Kiwis, actually. They've had some issues in their high-performance program, and I just love seeing them come back from that.
They've also had a lot going on at home outside the sport. It's been a terrible time in New Zealand. It has
been a really crappy time for New Zealand, hasn't it? And so I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of them, and I'm proud of them in that front. Yes.
Always massive solidarity with our trans-Tasman.
And you know that I love to claim a Kiwi as Aussie when they succeed, and so this is win-win for the Aussies.
Who are you poaching this time? Have you decided yet?
The whole team's pursuit.
Okay, the whole team,
men and women. Yes.
We've got 14 Aussies riding their guts out in Jakarta, but we do have Maddie Richardson coming back, of course, with Tommy Cornish and Lee Hoffman.
They'll be in their rainbow stripes in the team sprint.
How cool
Bada
is that?
boom.
How cool is that?
Very
by the
cool.
way. So that's exciting. Looking forward to seeing that unfold and Aussies to squaring that ledger as time goes on.
Indeed,
as well.
yes.
This has been fun.
It has been fun.
This has been fun.
It has. I'm just waiting we got some coffee brought in. I'm just waiting for the Orangina to arrive, and then I think we're on our way.
It's a fizzy frenzy in the wheelhouse bunker. It really is.
Shake it, Joel.
Shake it. Stir it. Anyway, this has been great. I'm going to let you go and contact the consulate to try and sort your stuff out with Belgium.
Yes.
Just block Soul Ripper or whatever his name is. Just you don't need that in your life.
Or Belgian sports fan.
Or just block Belgium for now if you can. Thank you so much for your company. Please do like, share, follow, subscribe. It's a lot of fun on the Wheelhouse Podcast. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us everywhere.
Joel, before we go,
thanks
I found that clip.
to our friends at Listener. And
found the
before we
clip.
go, I've got a surprise. I've just
Found
got a
it.
special surprise. We've
Really?
found the clip.
You
Merxie
found Orangina. Oh, I
has
thought you found Orangina, but okay. All right.
I'm gonna throw now because Merxie has done his magic, and here it is for the fans of the Wheelhouse, exclusively here from the bunker.
Okay. I've braced myself.
It's called drafting. One car tucks
So
in
I guess
behind
this
another.
is a
Two cars can go faster than one.
explanation. This is
our
the most
tutorial in understanding.
yes, I mean, if you are not watching and you are listening, then you should watch. I'm not sure that I want to describe this, but I suppose this is our saucy scene
It is.
from Days of Thunder, where he is. Look, I have to say, he's actually doing a really ripper job of showing her drafting
Makes sense,
up
yeah.
her
Slingshot past
inner
it,
thigh with some ice.
beat it to the finish line. And you go straight to victory lane.
Heavens.
Any questions?
There's a lesson in drafting. Each ice cube representing your favourite rider.
Yes, echelons. Now we fully understand it, and my thanks to Tom Cruise for his second appearance on the Wheelhouse Podcast. Nicole
Yes.
Kidman debuting there, and big thanks to Merxie for digging that one out and helping enlighten us all.
Helping us finish off this week.
We'll draft our way into another show soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your company. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. See you soon. The Wheelhouse is brought to you by our friends, the Grow Getters Group, Champion System and Pissay. Recorded at River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by Luke Mears, written and hosted by Catherine Bates and me, Joel Spreadborough.